listening to the TD Show.
Touchdown Titans! There are no flags on the field! It's a miracle! Tennessee has pulled a miracle!
Broadcast live on the TDShow.com.
There goes Davis! Oh my God! Davis is going running all the way back! Auburn's going to win the football game! Auburn's going to win the football game!
2 hours of the best sports talk on the planet. Or at least out of Edmonton, Kentucky.
Batted on. Oh God! Stokely down the sideline! Can he catch him? Stokely! Wow! Touchdown! Denver! Unbelievable!
Coming to you live, your hosts, TJ and Dan.
Welcome back to the unprecedented third hour of the TD Show this morning. We are in our fifth segment. Our fourth segment was shortened a little bit by some technical difficulties. That's okay. We got plenty to talk about. Talking about the Daytona 500, we still got some other Daytona 500 stuff, some stuff about Dale Earnhardt Jr. that TJ wants to share with us this morning.
I got a few things I want to talk about and ask you about here. As Junior's career if it continues as is, current pace to do what he's doing now, how do you think he's remembered? Because he's voted the most popular driver year after year. But Jimmy's career, who's going to have the same exact timeline as his, is obviously a better driver and probably top 3 driver of all time. So, I mean, what do you think Junior's legacy is on the sport?
Dale Earnhardt's son.
You think so?
I mean, I don't mean that as derogatorily, but
right.
I think that's a lot of his popularity. And he's always been a little more private. You know, he wants to share. But what he doesn't make people mad. He does what he wants to do. He kind of got ran out of his dad's organization. We know that was a bad situation for him. But
well, let's go there because that's another question. He left DEI and went to Hendricks to be successful. But don't you think more so if he went somewhere else away from Jimmy and Jeff? Because
he would be more successful.
Because it's hard to be a rival with a teammate.
And they've got so much money tied up in Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. He gets stuck as the draft guy and the help guy.
Right. It's a great team for him, and I mean it gets him top 10s and top 5s and even top 2s.
Championships,
right.
But it doesn't get him wins. I think anywhere else, if he was the stud, we would see him with 10, 15 more wins if he was the stud of a team.
And you're talking about him being a private guy. He just actually joined Twitter after the 500, had a bet with Michael Waltrip, who he knows a social media guru, everything else, driver, analyst, commentator.
Boogity.
But
was that pretty good? Did y'all like that?
Yeah, I can do it better. But
let's hear it.
Boogity, boogie, boogie. Let's go racing. Anyway. Probably 5 million followers by now. I don't know, a lot. But,
no, it wasn't. I'll look. It was 500-some thousand yesterday.
But, I mean, within about 6 hours, he has 40 tweets. He goes from being one of the most private NASCAR drivers to being one of the most public NASCAR drivers. And I think that can only help him even though he's already the most popular driver in NASCAR by long ways. I believe that only helps his status.
He has 541,000 followers
and already
has 147 tweets in 1 week.
Week.
Looks like 9 a.m. practice is on schedule. Good, because we're going to need it.
And, you know, one of the cooler things, you mentioned it, one of the cooler things he did, went outside the 500 and took that picture with the statue of his dad.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Almost brought tears to my eyes. I'm not going to lie.
He tweets, Michael Waltrip's wife writes him a prayer every week. Is that right?
I didn't know about that.
Writes him a prayer says a prayer, prays for him every week, but writes him a prayer to put in his car.
Huh.
And he takes that with him on all of his races. He tweeted out a picture.
Now, they used to be on the same nationwide team, I believe. Him and Michael Waltrip.
That's correct. If I could find it, he tweeted a picture of it. Here it is.
There you go.
Stevie Waltrip's name.
Okay.
It says Isaiah 40:28. Dale, have you not known? Have you not afraid? The Lord is the everlasting God, the Creator that a creator of the ends of the earth. He gives power to the faint and strength. Actually, this is one of my favorite Bible verses. It's not exactly what it says.
It's not real legible sometimes
if
either.
you've ever seen Remember the Titans, I know you've seen that movie.
A few times.
Isaiah 40:38, and he says, even the strong get tired and weary, even young men stumble and fall, but those who trust in the Lord will renew their strength. That's what it says in the Bible. He sings it.
What is it they call him?
That's Rev.
Rev, right. All right, one last thing about Junior. Well, kind of, it's more about Jimmy than Junior, I guess. In 10 years, do you think Jimmy has 10 championships and is known as the best driver of all time? Or do you think Junior and this next class of drivers, and maybe Kenseth and Harvick and Edwards too, hold him to 6?
Keselowski.
Well, I'd include him in the next.
Yeah.
He's a lot younger than Harvick and them.
I don't think that Jimmy can withstand. And
there's a lot of talent.
I think that Junior has come out of his shell. I think he's decided, look, I can be the man on this team, which is what I said last week he was going to have to do. And he's going to be a force to be reckoned with if he decides, Jimmy, I'm not being your backup man. I'm not Bake. You're not Shake.
Yeah,
I'm
I
El
agree.
Diablo, and you're the Magic Man.
That's right.
And I think, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I think they legitimately like each other. I think they get along. They seem to be good buds. They've both always drawn for Chevrolet for their whole careers. But I think if Junior decides, look, I'm going to be the man. I'm going to try and win races. I like you, Jimmy, and I'll help you when I can. But last lap, I'm coming for your butt.
And even all that said, I mean, there's so much talent in
NASCAR
NASCAR
coming
right
up,
now.
especially you've got the, Richard Childress Racing's. Both of his grandsons are driving, not just Dylan that we know about now, but his brother.
Ty, I actually didn't realize it until last week that's Richard Childress' grandson.
You didn't know
I
that.
did not know
He's
that.
He's driving a number 3 truck car right now. Truck car.
Well, Ty's driving in the Nationwide Series, too.
And he's driving the truck.
Right.
Not truck car, just truck.
Truck car, truck.
Craftsman
whatever
truck.
you want to call it. One last thing about NASCAR is I tweeted yesterday, and I think the show retweeted it. If you haven't watched the new Jeff Gordon video where they find a guy who blogged, and he's a NASCAR blogger, that the first video wasn't real. They set up a little demo with this guy. Okay, apparently
retweet it.
Apparently it wasn't retweeted by the show, but we'll do that now. You need to watch it because it is hilarious.
And whether or not you're a Jeff Gordon fan, because I wasn't when the first one came out, but it's so awesome.
It is awesome. He pretends that he just got out of prison. He's a taxi car driver. He picks this guy up, and the police try to pull him over, and you watch it from there. But this weekend we have the Profit 500 on CNBC at the Phoenix International Speedway. It's 2 o'clock local time. That's Central Time. So that will be interesting to watch. See how Hendricks Motorsports does there. If Junior keeps the lead row, if Jimmy tries to get back in, and I mean a lot of good drivers finished right there at the top of the 500. So be interesting to see what they carry to them this week. But moving to, as we promised, a lot of MLB talk. The first thing I'd like to talk about is Barry Bonds being introduced as the hitting instructor, kind of an assistant to the hitting coach for the San Francisco Giants. What if Barry Bonds is someday a Major League Baseball manager?
I see what you're setting up with this question. I know where this is going to go. I don't have a problem with it. I think that Barry Bonds could make a good manager. We know that...
I don't think either me or you have a problem with it, but you got to assume that the commissioner's office is going to have a problem with it.
Well, Mark McGuire's the hitting coach. We know he's had the same allegations.
Right.
But Barry Bonds is, without steroids, was one of the greatest players of all time.
I completely agree. But Bud Selig in the commissioner's office
Bud
made
Selig's going to be gone.
Right, but there's still going to be carryover there.
Oh, let me just put. What about Ron Washington?
Does this have to do with cocaine?
He was on cocaine as a manager.
Right, but once again, Bud Selig
admitted it.
I know, but I'm not saying that what's right and what's wrong in my eyes.
Right.
I'm removing myself from this. Bud Selig made it a personal vendetta, kind of like what we saw with Ryan Braun.
Kind of, yeah.
To just go after Barry Bonds and try to bury him. Mostly, I guess, because he was the home run champion.
Right. I don't know that Barry Bonds... while I would support him, I don't know how good of a manager he would be.
He wasn't a real personable person.
Right.
He
And
wasn't
I
a
don't
people
know
person.
how I don't know if this will ever play out. What I'm saying is I wouldn't have a problem with it. I don't think he'd be getting good at it.
Right. That said, it could get ugly maybe.
Oh,
if
yeah. Well, Selig's going to be gone. I think some of this. Well, he's appointed a successor. Yeah, I know he's a Selig mini-me, so I don't know. I think it'd be stupid, but it's possible. They haven't banned him from the game.
No. They haven't pulled a Pete Rose on him, even though Pete Rose never did steroids.
I'm not going to say that they wouldn't be looking at every single thing he did.
Right.
And he would not get in trouble for, every time he butt dialed somebody, as we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
He might get in trouble for that, but I don't know what grounds they would have to keep him from being a manager. Even though, they did keep Mark Cuban from buying a team, which I thought was stupid.
And Rush Limbaugh in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, that was the NFL.
Which
I think they would let Rush Limbaugh buy an MLB team if he wanted one. MLB owners are kind of a more conservative, more old school approach, and I think they would be okay with Rush Limbaugh owning. Of course, he's not going to afford the Cardinals, and they're not going to be selling it, which I think he was trying to buy the Rams at the time.
Right.
So I don't know what MLB franchise would be up for sale. Maybe the Marlins would be the next franchise that would be eligible to be purchased. I don't know if he'd be interested in that, but I'd be okay with it.
Real quick, I want to talk about the Reds. I know it's spring training, but first game of spring training, Price announces that he's going to bat Bruce fourth.
Right.
Something that everybody's been waiting for. Bruce and Votto are both really good left-handed hitting against
power hitters. Left-handed power against right or left-handed pitchers.
Right. I think actually Bruce has the most home runs against a left-handed pitcher for a left-handed batter since 2008. And I believe Votto's average against a left-handed pitcher might be higher than his average against a right-handed pitcher. So finally,
on base percentage versus a left-handed pitcher.
Was another thing where we saw where Dusty just wouldn't let something go. That Price says, you know what? There's no reason that Bruce can't be our number 4 hitter.
Right.
But what I wanted to get to was the first spring training game. Hamilton leading off center field, first at bat, walks.
Billy.
First pitch of the next at bat, still second, throwing error, gets to third. Phillips walks. So you're thinking, hey, all right, first and third. This is the way we start out the season. Hamilton stealing. Strike him out, throw him out, pop fly. So, it was awesome. You got your hopes up. Man, this is going to be the team right here. If Hamilton can do this every time, and then you saw how quickly things can turn.
It was spring training.
Yeah, right. Also, something I saw kind of surprising.
What about, before we move on, what about Latos? What's his recovery looking like? They said 10 days and he would be back throwing the baseball.
They say he's going to be pitching in spring training before the season starts. Something I saw last year, the Reds starting rotation had a better ERA than the Tigers. That's really hard to believe. And they were the only 2 teams to tally 1,000 innings pitched by their starting pitchers. Yeah, both.
I can believe that.
Yeah, you had a couple, but with Cueto getting hurt, you kind of figured it might sway a little bit. But the ERA thing, pitching at Great American Ballpark, that really surprised me.
Yeah,
as good as the Tigers.
ERA, I can see that trouble. I can believe the way that their pitching philosophy was that they did have the most innings by their starters.
Staying in spring training, Ryan Braun on the second pitch of his first at bat in spring training, home run. Good thing or bad thing?
Good thing.
You're coming off that PED thing, and I guess you kind of want to say, hey, y'all are testing me. Watch what I'll do. I'll hit one on the first at bat, second pitch. But another player, big-time power hitter, Mike Trout, probably best all-around player, not just power hitter. $1 million deal with the Angels, largest pre-arbitration contract in history. I believe Ryan Howard's had one that was $900,000. He signs one for $1 million. But it's still commonly believed that he'll get the big contract at some point during this year before next season starts.
Yeah, the number I've been hearing tossed around is $300 million is what his next contract's going to be, and that's a big contract for a young guy. But I think he's shown that he's worth it.
Yeah, an interesting argument that I heard is that they should figure into the MVP voting how good you are per dollar. Because if you take per dollar, Mike Trout's got the last 2 MVPs, no question about it.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, he's the most valuable per dollar of any baseball player.
So most fiscally valuable instead of the most physically valuable.
Before we get to the over-unders, which I promised we would get to, MLB adopts a rule to ban home plate collisions, but doesn't really do so. The catcher can still block the plate if he has the ball. Apparently, the Players Association wouldn't okay a rule requiring runners to slide and catchers to give up the plate, just like a play at second base.
Exactly.
So they say they adopt a rule to ban collisions, but I mean, as long as the catcher gets the ball, you can still have a collision.
Right, which is, this was my argument against it before, which when they put it in, I thought the catcher had as much right to stand there once he had the ball as the runner had to be there as well. I think where the problem's going to be is the catch tags.
I think you got to do all or nothing, because I mean now it's going to be so much of a judgment call.
But who's out and who's safe? How do you know who initiates the contract? What the problem is? I mean, how do you call it?
That's what I'm saying. Either leave it the way it was, where you can go full out collision, or make it a second base play where he gives up the plate and he slides.
Slides, yeah.
Because with now, does he have possession of the ball?
Exactly.
Is he transferring it? What's going on? Can he stand there in front of the plate? I mean, it just could get really messy.
Yeah, I understand.
All or nothing.
And I think I agree with the way you said it. When you said all or nothing, it threw me to you. Compared it to second base play, and that's exactly how I think it's going to be. I think when you start trying to break down when the ball got, especially in a sport where replay is kind of frowned upon, and we're just now getting into it, there ain't no way to call some of those plays correctly. So I think it's going to be trouble. We'll see if this rule lasts. It takes a long time for baseball to change a rule, so when they do change one, you think they would have thought it through a little more than this one is. But we'll see where it goes before the season's over. I think you've got over-unders now.
Yeah,
we want to get to those.
I want to do the over-unders. We got about 10 minutes here to do them. We need to get through them this segment.
Okay. Hit me with them.
Got about 10 of them. Braves, 87.5.
That's right where they need to be.
We look at the last 4 years, 91, 89, 94, 96. And really, last year, the first full year with this team together.
I mean, that's a strong number. I would expect to go over. I'm going to say 95 wins.
I'm going to say I think it'll be. I think
it's a very close number.
Yeah, I think they'll be right there at it or over. The Reds, 84.5. Last 4 years, 90, 97, then the 79, 91.
That's another tough one.
They lose Chew, which hurts, but they get Price.
Yeah, but their pitching is what I think is going to be the difference
right
here, and I think their pitching is going to be stronger.
I mean, it has a lot to do with injuries
this year than it was last year.
Right, you had Cueto out.
I am going to go over on the Reds as well.
I think that's low for the Reds. I think 87.5 would probably be a better over-under for them, just like the Braves.
Yeah.
But speaking of the Reds, real fast. Oh, my guarantee.
Now, time for strong words from a manly man.
They say he has grit. I wanted a man with grit.
If you're looking for trouble, I'll accommodate you. Otherwise, leave it alone.
Strong words from a manly man is brought to you by Slapmaster Chainsaws. When you need to do the manliest of man jobs, Slapmaster is the only chainsaw of choice for the bearded one on my left.
Here's what I have to say. I said the Reds would win more than 84.5 games, but my guarantee, Reds win 90. Reds win 90 games this year.
Assuming they stay healthy, I think that's a pretty safe guarantee. It's going to be a while before we know. I'll probably forget that you guaranteed it.
Well, we got it here in the archives. We'll go back.
All right.
But now Astros, a team that moved from the NL to the AL last year, 62.5. Last 3 years, 51, 55, 56. And I'm going from, when I read these numbers, I'm going from most recent, starting with most recent.
I think that's an incredibly generous.
I think
offer.
it is too. Because if you look,
they didn't do any off-season deals to make them any better. I'm going to go way under.
right, and you're saying that talent there. Basically, last year everybody was a rookie for that team,
Right.
So you're thinking maybe they mature a little bit. But the thing you got to look at also, I believe they had the most wins of anybody in the AL against the Angels. I believe they went had 10 wins against them. Because they played them early when the Angels weren't doing very well.
Good, right.
So I think if anything, they
did
probably
have
go down.
And they didn't have a tough schedule. I mean, they were playing cake teams, and some of their games were just totally unwatchable, and
They're bad.
they're terrible.
I mean, they're probably one of the worst teams I've ever seen in baseball.
Oh, yeah, at least in recent history that I can remember. So, yes, I'm going to go under. I think that they're like a 55-win team.
Staying out west but going to the NL, the Dodgers, 92.5, the highest number of all the over and unders. Won 92 exactly last year,
right.
and that's the first full year with this team.
This is a team that could be scary. We know they've spent a lot of money and they've picked up a lot of talent.
Right, they won 92 games and really didn't play well until the All-Star break.
No, didn't play. Oh, I mean, they won more games after the All-Star break than anybody's ever won, I think.
Right.
I can't remember the number, and I
Because
didn't know it at one time.
Mattingly was on the chopping block.
Yeah.
There was talk of him being let go last year.
And,
who I really like, by the way.
Don
Mattingly,
I'm going to
great
go
manager.
under, just because I don't trust them. I don't trust them to play that well for a whole year.
Here's what I think. I think they saw Don Mattingly get in trouble, and I think most of them probably respect him as much of a manager
like
as,
him,
as
right,
I do.
yeah.
So I think they go out and play for him. I think we see all year what we saw in the second half last year. Even though it's the highest number of all the over and unders, I'm going to say over.
So you think they could be close to 100 wins?
Yes, absolutely.
Whew.
Next team on the list.
I know you didn't guarantee that one.
Next team on the list, much like the Astros, the Miami Marlins, 69.5. And they've had 62, 69. That's really only 2 years since this whole Miami reformation they had. But then we saw about halfway through the season they sold everybody that they had and kind of,
I don't think that the Miami Marlins are going to be the Miami Marlins in 3 years. I think they're going to be gone somewhere.
It's amazing how much money they put into that franchise that year and then just gave up.
Exactly. And I know that their owner's a little controversial. He's done some things in the past that people don't necessarily agree with, and that scares me. I don't know what they're doing. I don't understand their vision. 69.5 in their division is. I'm going to go under on the Marlins as well.
I'm going under as well. Pittsburgh Pirates, 83.5, past four years, 94, 79, 72, 57. Really caught lightning in a bottle last year with that 94 wins.
Yeah. They looked really, really good last year.
That said, the past 3 years they've been really good until the All-Star break.
And I think that they can be a 500 team.
Yeah.
That's going to put them a little over 500. I'm going to say they're going to win 94 games, so I'll go over. 84 games.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Sorry.
Whoa.
84 to 87.
I agree. I think they'll go over a game or two.
Got a little tour up there.
Staying in the NL Central, the St. Louis Cardinals, the only other team besides the Dodgers, over 90 games.
I'm going under already.
90.5, 97 and 88 the past 2 years since losing Pujols to the Angels.
Always a consistent team. Always
agree.
a consistent above 500 team. Always going to be in the mix in the playoffs. Always going to pull them out, but don't necessarily always have good seasons.
I really feel like the Reds are going to win the division, but I feel like the Cardinals will win a wild card.
Right.
But I don't think they'll win 90 games. I'm going to go
I don't think
under.
they can win 90 games as well. We'll agree on that one and go under.
Washington Nationals, 88.5, 86 and 98 the past 2 years. Those are the 2 full years with Harper and Strasburg.
Well, Strasburg was injured part of that
right.
time.
And then we saw last year Gio Gonzalez got suspended about the All-Star break, I believe.
I like the Nationals a lot. I've liked them a lot since Strasburg got there. I like them more now that they have Harper. I think that they can win 90 games. In their division, I really think they can win 90 or 91 games. I think, look at their offensive production. They have too much talent.
Yeah, I think the Braves and the Nationals kill that division.
Yeah, Phillies.
I don't think the Phillies will be that good.
I don't think they have the talent that they've had in the past 3 years. The Nationals, they're kind of like what we were talking about Kentucky and college basketball. If they can get everything together, get everything healthy, then gosh, they ought to be good. So I'm going to go over with the Nationals.
I'm going over. Last team on the list, AL team, the Detroit Tigers. There was no AL team over 90 games. This was the highest over-under for an AL team, 89.5. Last 3 years, 93, 88, 95.
I think that Detroit, who do they have to play? They're not going to be playing anybody. The Yankees, the Red Sox, we know played well.
The Indians caught fire
The
last year.
Indians caught fire at the end of the year, but consistently haven't been great. That's still a pretty high number. Just given the baseball tradition that they're playing against, that's tough for me. It's been the toughest one for me so far, TJ. I'm going to go under and say that they're not going to be as good as they were last year.
I say over. When you got Verlander and you got Fielder and Cabrera and everybody
I like
else.
Verlander. I don't really like Cabrera.
Oh, I don't like them either, but they're good baseball players. Yeah. I think they probably win 90-some games. I say they make the World Series and lose to the Reds. 5 games.
Wow.
All right, so we still got NFL talk, local sports. We'll try to jam it all in the last segment.
Philly
there.
cheese deer.
Philly cheese steak deer.
No, don't put steak in there. It's Philly cheese deer.
Are the deers not in steaks?
It just sounds better my way.
All right.
All right.
Philly cheese deer.
Back
coming
in
up.
4 minutes.